So hello guys, I would like to make this video to discuss some issues that are currently frustrating the Warframe community. So what I'm gonna address is the proposed damage 2.5 thing. Well, actually it's more of a status 2.5 because the damage types are staying the same. It's only the status procs that are changing, but anyway, technicalities aside. So the main goal of damage 2.5 was to bring less used or less powerful weapons and damage types to the same level as the most powerful weapons that take advantage of the most powerful damage type. So let's take a look. For example, consider Slash, because that's the hot topic, so to speak, at the moment, because it's the only one that we know how it scales and we know how it's going to scale after the proposed changes. As for the others, they don't scale really, so there's no use even mentioning them. Plus there's some other niches that I'll go over later. So for example, let's first consider the Stiletto Prime. Now I mod my Stiletto Prime like this. I'll show the build. Okay, so these, apart from the status chance and the modded base damage, don't really affect. I'm considering values without multi-shot and without crit here, alright? So currently Slash is 30% of the total modded base damage, as we see here. Now they said that Slash will, once these changes are implemented, will be from the total Slash damage on the weapon. So for all these examples I will be considering a hypothetical scenario where they take 100% of said Slash damage. I have to emphasize here that this is highly unlikely that will be the case, but you know, just for demonstration purposes. And then we'll consider if they take, for example, 50%, which is, you know, I think in their mind would seem a bit more reasonable. So the status chance without multi-shot on my Stiletto is 84%. Now that means that with some calculations, as you can see very quickly here, one would expect that my build would proc Slash about 15%, not about, actually it's exactly 15% of the time for every bullet, excluding multi-shot again. So, you know, 15%, that's about every 7 bullets you proc Slash, which is, you know, a significant amount of damage in this case. You know, taking that away would be a significant loss to the Stilettos, even if you're all constantly shredding armor. But anyway, at the moment, the 30% of the base damage is 34.5. Luckily, and this is assuming that they consider 100% of the Slash damage. If they do that, which is highly unlikely, it would still have the same damage on the proc. Now, a few reasons why this is highly unlikely. Take for example weapons like the Tigris Prime, the Atherax, Galatine Prime, the Agjagger, the Euphona Prime. Those have a lot more than 30% of their base damage in Slash, so it would be fucking ridiculous to even consider putting 100% Slash in there, because it would make those weapons monstrous. So again, considering the more plausible 50%, this means that you're essentially halving the DPS from Slash procs than what it currently is for the Stiletto Prime. I emphasize only for the Stiletto Prime. So I mean, it's still a good weapon, people like it, it has corrosive to work for it as well, so you know, why even bother that much with it? So let's take a look at another weapon, the Buzzlock. The Buzzlock is mainly impact, a good chunk of Slash and a tiny bit of puncture. My build, it is set up like this. So with this build I have 125.5 modded base damage. That means that with Hunter's Munitions, and for those who don't know, when you put the beacon on an enemy, that enemy receives a flat plus 50% critical chance on him. So you effectively, with 37% critical chance, you go up to what, 80 something critical chance with the beacon. So I'm considering the best case scenario, so about 1 in every 4 shots you'll be proccing Hunter Munitions, because this is a primary weapon and it can take advantage of Hunter Munitions. Whereas opposed to status alone, you only get 4% chance to proc Slash, which is again not very optimal, so to speak. So with the current mechanic in place, you get 37.65 damage from the slash proc. Now, when they change it around to the proposed changes, where it considers 100% of the slash damage, again, this is the hypothetical 100%, it goes down. So even with the highly overpowered bullshit of 100% slash damage dealt as finisher damage to the enemy, you still get less damage in this case. So the Buzzlock, I mean, I personally like it, but I understand the community that not everyone sort of picks up the Buzzlock as a first weapon choice, from their arsenal. So, you have a subpar weapon, sort of, that requires a huge amount of investment to get to a decent place that is taking a big beating, even at this hypothetical bullshit scenario. When in fact, if you take 50%, which is a more realistic expectation of what's to come, you get half of that. So you get less than half of the slash damage that you have at the moment, because this is half of this, and this is larger, so this is less than half of this. So, funny, huh? So, moving on to the Vectis Prime, same calculations apply with, and I'm running this build, which is pretty much the same as the Buzzlock. And if you consider this, when these changes take place, the damage of the slash proc is more than halved already when considering the 100% scenario. So with the 50% of slash scenario, you have 1/4 of the bleed proc you used to have on the Vectis Prime. And I'm considering the Vectis Prime because, while all snipers are pretty much equal in the game with the recent changes they made, the Vectis Prime I think is the more user-friendly and more, how should I say, readily available, because it was given as a Twitch drop. So everyone pretty much got it for free, So a big nerf to the slash procs on the Vectis, even considering it's only 18% chance with Hunter's munitions and 7 with normal procs. And it's a sniper that fires, not as fast as a Buzzlock, certainly, or as some weapon that we will be going over. So yeah, it hurts even more. Alright, so Vectis aside, let's move on to the Prisma Gorgon, which, like the Buzzlock, I mean, yes, some people like it, I like it, but even for me, it's not my first choice, when picking a weapon from my arsenal. So this weapon has the worst of both worlds. It has the lowest amount attributed to slash in its damage, and it has a shitty status chance to go along with it. So you have less than 1% chance to proc slash via status, and 11.25% chance to proc it with Hunter's munitions, because it's crit chance, while okay, it's nothing to write home about, honestly. So, I like to remind you that this is without multi-shot, and the build for the Prisma Gorgon that I'm considering is the same build as with the Buzzlock. So, at the moment, it does 19.8 damage on the slash proc. With the proposed changes, it's doing 6.6, which is 1/3 of the damage it used to do, which is... This is again at 100% of the slash damage. So you're already doing 1/3 of the damage you used to with Hunter's munitions equipped, and assuming the more realistic scenario of 50% of the weapon slash damage, you're doing 1/6 of the original damage you used to do on slash procs. So, a weapon that has pretty much no way to bypass armor. As you can see, the chance per bullet without multi-shot to proc corrosive, if you want to go that route, is pretty much 3%, so you're not removing armor consistently here. And with fast fire rate, it could stack those slash procs from Hunter's munitions to actually kill enemies. So yeah, that's quite a hit to the Prisma Gorgon. Alright, so let's move on to another sniper, this time the Rubicon. Doing the calculations, and again, this is without the multi-shot and without crit, so if the Rubicon crits, it's a fucking crit monster, and it would do more damage than the Vectis. This is with the same build that I used on the Vectis I'm considering here, and, this is without crit, so let's be a bit modest. So the Rubicon is mainly impact. It has pretty much no slash in comparison. So it goes from... you remember how the Vectis halved its slash proc? This will do 1/6 of its current damage, assuming 100% of the total slash damage. So taking the more realistic scenario of 50% of the weapon slash damage, you will be doing 1/12. Do you know how much 1/12 is? 1/12 is a fucking lot to reduce a proc by. So yeah, this is not a good idea to go through it for the slash. You know, you have a mod like fucking Hunter's Munitions that sort of made the primaries all in an equal place, assuming that they can sufficiently crit, and the status weapons already could proc slash decently well, if they have it. So, you know, it sort of leveled the playing field pretty well, in my opinion. You know, getting a nerf like the... I don't know. The Rubicon before Hunter's Munitions was not really that... I mean, it was good, but terrible status chance at 11%. So, and slow fire rate and slow reload, which means you can't consistently strip off armor if you wanted to. And it's a sort of a similar fashion to the Prisma Gorgon, but without the fire rate. And you had Hunter's Munitions that could help it, you know, help it where it lacked, which is bypassing armor, and it could do that pretty well with the crit damage, but... Ay. This is... it's not looking good for most weapons. You know, there are more weapons that you could consider, but the... for example, the strong rate, but I didn't feel like going through the calculation of the per pellet, you know. Just... this is a much more clear picture of what you can get, but the strong rate, I believe, is impact based, so it would definitely suffer. Weapons like the War would also suffer more than they already do, and this is... and for this I'm considering only weapons that have IPS, which is impact, puncture and slash damage types. For example, the Amprex. I might put a clip of what the Amprex can do with Hunter's Munitions here. And if I forget, I forget. Fuck it then. I mean, without it, the Amprex is pretty much... you're just throwing your ammo at the enemies and they just laugh at you, you know? With Hunter's Munitions, it can actually kill one enemy maybe with all of your ammo. So, you're again, it has no slash, so if they use this approach and not counter at least for those types of weapons that have no physical damage types, they're pretty much dead again, you know? It's like Hunter's Munitions doesn't even exist, and I hope that's not their intention, to nerf something that pretty much evens out the playing field for primary weapons, but yeah. So that's enough rambling. I think I made my point. So I will be probably posting another video to sort of go over how I would personally redo some of the procs, because let's face it, puncture's pretty much useless. I don't care if it scales, it's still useless. And impact, well, let's say for example the Vulcar Ray. It has a lot of impact and an okay amount of status chance. So, and also it has, on scope, it has bonus headshot damage. I think it goes up to 75% or so, which means, you know, if you proc impact and this motherfucker ragdolls all over the place, thus keeping you from consistently getting headshots, I mean, that's a problem. You're losing a lot of damage, because it pretty much relies on getting those damn headshots. I don't know. It doesn't seem right to me, at least. Leave your opinions in the comments, I guess. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who feels that this is gonna be a disaster. And, you know, if you guys comment on the forums, please try and be constructive and, you know, not lose your shit. yeah, so take care and bye bye.